Hi, I'm Ian Crichton. I'm going to show you some subtractive clay techniques. Turn on the grid, turn on mirror, make sure it's set to 90 degrees to begin with. All I'm going to do is kind of block out the shapes that I'm going to play with. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of create the hull. So on that layer in the scene graph, I'm going to change this to state that. And using the gizmo tool, I'm going to stretch and block to roughly where I want it to be, and then start subtracting clay. That's going to be the main hub, or the main shape of the ship. I'm going to start cutting elements away, so I'm going to click on the erase tool, keeping the gizmo tool the way it was, and I'm going to use the constraint tool to remove angles. So I'm going to set that to 30. I'm going to go along with the classic kind of Battlestar Galactica design. So I think what we'll do is basically shave off some parts first. Okay, so I've removed an element. I'm going to change the angle again to 15%. And I've got a kind of block shape. This is the, oops. So that's the kind of main hull shape I'm going to use. I'm going to run that shape this way. What I might do is, yeah, okay, so I've got kind of, let me turn the angle snap off actually. What I'm going to do is use grid and basically be a bit more free and loose with the way I'm cutting this. So I'm starting to get this kind of shape that or feel that I'm looking for. So I'm going to keep the front of the ship kind of pointed. Trim the front completely off. Okay, so I've got the kind of hull shape I want. I'm also going to start cutting away other elements. So I'm using a subtractive method to do this. So I'm going to add engines in here, I think. Might want to slope the back end of the hull. It'll start to make sense as I go, but I want this to look kind of not blocky, but streamlined at the same time. So there we go. So that's my main kind of cockpit area, or my hull, I should say. The squaring edges to give it that kind of man-made effect. I might make it slightly thinner. There we are. So, okay, so I've got my block shape. I'm going to cut an element away for where the engines are going to go. So I'm going to create a layer after I do this. First of all, I want to get a kind of curved shape. And I'm going to leave, see these little kind of bits here? I want them to, to remain. And as you can see, you've got the kind of area where that engine would sit. I'm just going to cut sections away from the bottom half as well, because I might want to add in parts of where the engine runs through the hull. Okay, you can see roughly what I'm doing here. Just want to make sure this is parallel, or it's positioned correctly. So I'm going to use the cylinder tool. What I might do is bring it out a little bit more actually. So the engines fit here, or the blocks do. Set it at 90 degrees. Pull them right back, thicken this up a little bit. Okay, happy with that. I'm going to stick an engine on top just for good measure. One way of doing that is basically selecting the clay that you've created on one side. Okay, I should select, good. And copying it, and just copying and pasting it where you want it. So that should be the middle. Let me just check with mirror tool. It's close. Yep, okay. Okay, so it gives me those 3 engine types. I might actually shrink that down a bit just to give it a bit more room. Yeah, that's good there. So what I've done there is I've used the symmetry tool to line it up, make sure it's in the centre. I'll add a bit more detail in these now, do that by subtraction. So I'll turn off the mirror tool again. In fact, I'll keep that on. Go to create, go to erase. So I'm using the clay shapes that are there. And I'll just cut elements away. So I'm just cutting my whole way through here. I'm going to use the gizmo tool to stretch that clay, stretch that shape, and cut directly through it completely. Okay, it's causing this weird striation, I don't want that. Let me try here. Yeah, that's better. Okay, again, using the cone shape for example, I want it recessed. I want it to kind of curve in like a cone, which it's now doing. I'll do the same at the back. Okay, so it gives it that more thruster kind of style, I guess. I'm going to use the edge tool again, or use the shape tool, just to cut little ridges into it. What I mean by ridges is taking the edge of that tool and just erasing elements. It gives it that, yeah, sci-fi feel. One of the things I do is I take the edge tool again, set it at 45 degrees so I can get a straight line. I'm going to cut a panel into this engine. So there we go, we get kind of notches, it gives it that, again, hull kind of texture. Okay, that's a good approximation. I'll use a torus tool. Now you can inverse cut with this as well. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So I've got this thruster shape. This, let's say, is a placeholder. I'll copy and paste elements that I want. I might knock this back slightly or cut, erase from that. So I'm going to use the square tool or the cube. Bring it right down. I'll squish it with the gizmo tool. Put on 90 degrees. And basically cut further notches in. So yeah, it looks okay. And I'll do the same like that. There we go. So we've got the basic engine shape that we wanted. I'm going to use the torus tool once more. And basically stamp that back in, so it gives it yeah, more variety of shape. So I'm going to have little bits of join engines together. Here we go. I want it. Yep, just checking there's no pass through. Now I was talking about leaving a gap at the bottom so I can run ridges. The way I do that in an easy way is to create kind of pipe effect is just by pasting toruses. Okay, so I've got that kind of ribbed engine radiator style thing going on. I'll add a couple of pipe looking things for exhaust ports. What I might do is go back to the hull and just cut sections away around the surrounding engine area just to give it a bit more visibility. So we'll go to scene, go to hull, click on clay, and let's see, let's take away these areas around the engine. So it looks as if it's, you know, specifically designed to fit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, you can see where I'm cutting those sections away. You know, it's subtractive, it's not additive. Yeah, I think that's okay like that. And along the bottom, what I might do is just add a couple of cuts again. Okay, so let's give it that kind of area where the engine would sit. Okay, so engine area, hull or cockpit area is done for now. In fact, let me just cut a section at the top. I'll bring this down so that engine's exposed a little bit more. And again, I'm just cutting away sections of the hull. It's got a thinner profile now. What I might do also is just shorten the nose on it a little bit. There we are. So because this is on two layers, it's good I can separate that as emissive at a later stage, or gloss, for example, or shiny chrome. It kind of separates. It's good to kind of separate it out. So there we go. We've got bolts. I'm going to use 45-degree angle with cube. Engine block area again. What I might do is use just a ball shape or sphere, cap the end of that, so it's like more like a fuel tank, I guess, more than an engine. Let's see, you can play about with this. You can always undo if you're not happy. There we are, that looks a bit better than it did. Real dangerous getting carried away though, that's the thing with this. It's so much fun just to be able to block something out so easily. I'm going to quickly save this. Okay, so that's a good start. One of the other things I tend to do is I'll use the duplicate tool, or like cut sections out and then expand them. What I mean by that is I'll go to scene, go to hull and copy that layer, for example. And just drag it up a bit. And we'll call this hull decal or decal. Now what I'm doing here is I'm keeping the clay I've got, making it a bright colour that I can recognise. And basically painting it so I can see it through it, or see through it. What I'll do is slightly expand that clay. So I'll go to 90 degrees, go to clay, go to create, go to bulge, go to the cube, and certain areas, in fact I'll make sure it's not too strong, I'll set it to about 10. And I'm going to quickly tap the trigger just to pull that clay upwards. Okay, so what I've essentially done is basically bulk out or bulge out certain areas, and then what we're going to do is cut out the kind of decal areas. So for example, I've got a red stripe going down it, there we are. You can create emissive layers and things like that with this. I'll just set it as, so it just differentiates from matte, for example. It adds to the kind of panel effect I was talking about, or the hull shape. So what I'm doing is erasing again, subtracting the elements I don't want. So I might want a kind of striped front to the ship, for example. What is a 45-degree angle? Use the gizmo tool, so I can cut like strips, or go faster stripes, I guess. Let me just run this across. Okay, I'm happy with that, I think. Now, the reason I'm using constraints there is so I could create a canopy, and it fits within this. So I'll quickly create a glass layer. I'll duplicate decal again, and I'll call this glass. It was at 15 degrees, if I remember right. So the glass will run like so, and then run like that. Okay, good. So clearing away the areas I want to leave or keep. Okay, I'm happy with that. And I'll just snip that away. Okay, so I've got the kind of glass area that's going to be, normally I'll use a shiny or a metal effect to give it that kind of mirrored look. So yeah, I've been messing about a little bit just to kind of get detail right. I'm going to build out the wings. Now the easy way of doing this is again going to hull, for example, copying it, naming it wings. Okay, I'm going to create essentially a mirror image of a flat plane using the cube tool. So there we are, make it a bit bigger actually. So I'm going to use subtractive method again. So I'm creating this flat plane, let's say. I don't want them too thin or too thick, so it's a good balance of weight. Okay, as you can see, I've still got the constraint tool on, well not the constraint, sorry, the 15 degrees angle. So I'm just chopping these wing shapes into this. I might remove certain other elements, that, give it that kind of streamline effect. And what I'm going to do also is make them hinged, I guess. I'll make sure that's 100% just to get that sharp edge. Okay, good. Now I'm going to run the cube over the top of it. Again, I'm cutting panels or hull shapes into it. There we are. Okay, so I've got a basic kind of panel or wing shape going on there. That looks kind of clean enough for me. What I will do is add a circular element to it. So there's hinges, for example, like I said. Okay, so all I'm doing is blocking this in. Okay, what I'll do is just run this up completely. Okay, so we've got basic kind of wing shapes. So I'm going to go to select tool, make sure it's at 90 degrees, turn off symmetry, select the clay I want to save. Okay, so it's highlighted. I'm going to save selection and call this, I don't know, ship wing. Since I'm here, I'll cut that. And you see I've got this kind of flat wing on that parallel. I can then change it to, say, 45 degrees, and it'll snap to that. And I'll turn mirror on. For obvious reasons, you want it to be symmetrical. I'm going to slightly pull it away from the ship hull, because I'm going to join this on like a hinge, I think, eventually. Now you can do endless variations of shapes, you can shrink it down, add them like that if you wanted. Even on the front, change the angles again. I'm just going to make them swept back, for example. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a small fin at the top, I think. I don't know whether I add two like this. It might be better just like that. Yeah, we'll stick with the traditional tri thing. So using 90 degrees again, let me just expand and paste it. Yep. Okay, so we've got this kind of delta style kind of ship. What I might want to do is extend the clay I've got. And kind of build it out. The reason I've done that is just so it matches roughly the width of the other wings. Okay, what's saying about the hinged area? I'm going to create in situ little cylinders. I think we'll add that to the engine block. It can either be hinged on this element here, but generally what I'll do is I'll create a little cylinder so it matches up with the wings itself. So I'm going to go to scene, go to hull, go to clay, go to add, and basically match that cylinder there. And the reason for that is just in case you were ever to articulate it, then you've got a kind of a pivot point, I guess. Back at the hull, I can then finally add the little kind of finishing touches, I guess. So I'm going to add in little kind of gun ports. Okay, that's rough. Let's say there is a decal we created. I can add in little embellishments. You know, it's up to yourself. You can just play about with it, I guess. Just kind of the kind of hint of where rivets would be, or little nodes, or even lights and things like that. And bear in mind, this is a basic kind of sculpt. You know, you could spend a few hours doing this, or come back to it at another point, I guess.